Hello, everybody. This is huge, and we finally have evidence, guys. This is, again, we are finding things out every single day. Trump, Elon, and DOGE have been investigating into the Social Security Administration. Now, I know this affects a lot of people, especially our seniors on Social Security. And right now, we have just found out that we've been sending billions and billions of dollars to foreign people who are getting Social Security from the United States. They're not even citizens, guys, but they're getting Social Security and they're using Social Security numbers of dead people over the age of 100. This is insane. People, this is from Newsweek, guys. People over 100 receiving Social Security benefits and what we know. And what is so crazy about this, guys, is that as we dig into all this, we're finding out that foreign people are getting Social Security numbers. They're taking away billions and billions of dollars of taxpayers' Social Security, which lowers the overall amount that other people that are rightfully supposed to get Social Security get. Musk calls that there's about 20 million people receiving Social Security past the age of 100. He's calling that the biggest fraud in U.S. history. Guys, it's all by design. This is so messed up because I know we have a lot of people on Social Security barely making it on $1,000 a month. I can't even believe this is so bad. But we have some good news, guys. Russia and the U.S. are having peace talks over ending the war with Ukraine. Russia and the United States, not Ukraine, Russia and the United States. They said they got a peace deal on the table. Russia is ready to move forward with it, and they're good. There's only one stipulation. On the Ukrainian side, they have to hold a new election, and Zelensky's got to go. They said, we do not want Zelensky as their president. We want him gone. You want a peace deal? That's a non-negotiable. So now Zelensky's really mad that they want him out, but the peace deal is on the table. So it looks like that's probably what's going to happen. On top of that, the House Oversight Committee has established the new task force on the declassification of federal secrets, led by Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who's a Republican from Florida. They have a focus on increasing government transparency and releasing all JFK files, MLK files, 9/11 files, all of them. They have added some people to the team. Nancy Mace, we love her. Lauren Boebert, she's great too. And Tim Burchett, my representative from Tennessee, and a couple others. And they're really trying to go in a bipartisan push to declassify all these federal secrets and allow more transparency into the federal government. And guys, to put the cherry on top, a U.S. appeals court this morning has ruled that the Biden administration had no authority to push his student debt relief plan, which aimed to lower payments and speed up loan forgiveness and eliminate student loan debt for tens of millions of people, was unconstitutional, and it was pretty much illegal. We all knew it. We called it, but he was still trying to do it to get votes. But look at it, guys. The election's done passed. And look at when the courts finally said something. We got a ton of breaking news today. I want to say thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you to all of our subscribers, guys. Y'all are the best. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I want to thank all of our members of the channel. In just a couple of days, we're going to be giving our donation online on live stream, guys, so you can see us donating to the charity. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join. And thank you so much, everybody, that gives a super chat donation. I want to give some love to Elaine Demeen. Show Elaine some love in the chat, everybody. And if you don't mind, guys, clicking the thumbs up like button, it really means a lot to us. Thank you so much for your support. This right here, guys, is huge. 20 million people receiving Social Security over the age of 100. And we know that most of them are foreigners. They're not even U.S. citizens, guys. Listen to this because it's gonna get crazy.
Trails. There is a reason the left loves NGOs and non-governmental organizations and lobbyists. They love them because they can go and work there with these groups later on when they leave Congress or the Senate and make a lot of money, or these people can flush a lot of money into their campaigns. They can flush a lot of money into their family members. This is what happened with the whole Ukraine thing with Biden when he was vice president. These politicians are mediocrities at best. There's a reason they're in politics. The reason they're, not all of them, but the reason many of them are in politics is because they can't do anything else. So if they can't do anything else, how the hell are they making so much money? They are making it through government and government connections. I say that because I'm getting bombarded with questions from people. Maybe they're not listening to every show every day, which I understand. You have your own thing going on. But the gist of the question is this, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to lose my thought in the beginning of the show. Can you imagine being so out of touch with actual voters as a political party that you're fighting against fraudulent, wasteful, even potentially criminal government spending? Even Jim Carville, the Ragin' Cajun, a Democrat operative. Did you hear him this morning? I should get the cut, but Carville said on Ari Melber's show on MSNBC about fighting against the DOGE, that, what's the line he said? Don't just sit there, do nothing. Sounds like it's contradictory. He's telling them, stand down on the DOGE, Democrats. You look like you guys are fighting against what 50 to 60% of Americans see as a necessary kind of trimming of the government tree.
Yes.
Do you understand how out of touch they are? The reason they're out of touch is it's intentional. They're going to go broke. Follow the money. Their choices are go broke, which they don't want to do, or stand up for fighting government abuse. They don't want to do it. They're not going to go broke. Or stand down, and they're going to stand down, and they're going to fight this thing. Here's what I mean. Here's Stephen Miller, a senior advisor, one of the chiefs of staff in the Donald Trump White House, a really good guy. Here is Stephen Miller on a Fox hit yesterday. I got two Stephen Miller cuts, one later on, but this one's important. They discovered a foreign fraud ring in our entitlement programs. Folks, even if you are not against government waste, and you love government waste, I should say, not to use a negative there to describe it. If you're for government waste, at least waste it here, right? If you're going to waste government money and piss it away in a toilet bowl, at least waste it on U.S. citizens. Nope. They found nobody cares on the left. Watch this.
As we know, there's a massive amount of fraud in this country. You have, for example, foreign fraud rings. These are foreign nationals who come into the United States. They use fake Social Security numbers. They use fake identities to steal billions in taxpayer benefits. There's no way to know until DOGE gains full access exactly how much money we're talking about. But over a 10-year normal budget window, you could be talking about saving over $1 trillion by clamping down on massive fraud in our tax and entitlement systems, including, again, those carried out by organized fraud and theft rings. A very important point in all this is to understand that DOGE are subordinate staffers of the federal government. They are political appointees, just like me, just like everyone else in the White House, that serve and answer to the president. So we're not talking about an outside private entity. We're talking about the existing federal staff of the federal government performing their statutory and constitutional duty.
Can you imagine fighting this? Folks, again, if you're a delusional liberal watching my show and you're not interested in government fraud because you're afraid it's going to, wrap up and dry up your gravy train, how is it that wouldn't you at least agree, like, if we're going to waste the money, at least waste it here? At least if it's fraudulently spent, it's spent in the United States. I don't want any fraud or criminality. I think that's fairly obvious. I think you sense my sarcasm, correct? However, foreign fraud rings. So if you are a huge supporter of Social Security and Medicare, I believe these programs that bankrupt themselves need to be reformed. We do have to protect our seniors. I get all of that. But still,
guys, thank you so much for your support, guys. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, we really appreciate your support so much.
How do you make the argument to America's seniors? You paid into a system. The system is going broke. Its own actuaries have told you that. It's going to be effectively out of IOUs in about 10 to 14, 15 years, right? You paid into it, and you're not going to get your money because people who didn't pay into it, fraudsters overseas, have stolen it? How are you?
Right there, guys.
You really believe this is a political winner? The answer is it's a freaking gravy train for them. They don't care. This will be the end of the Democrat Party as you know it if they don't back off this. But they won't because they'll go broke. Carville's been around forever. He's warning them. This is a loser. I'm not even a fan of Carville. What's that? That's fine. I'll put up the Kyle Becker tweet too. Here's another one. How are you against this? Even if you're a liberal lunatic, how are you against this? Kyle Becker, shock. The U.S. Army's diverted over 151 million meant for soldiers' food, according to Military Times. What? There's apparently some food shortages on these bases, and there's some. I mean, how crazy do you have to be to not want to fix that? You've got soldiers who are making no money, sacrificing their, swearing to give their lives for you, so we can sit around. Look at all these Fort Stewart, Fort Drum, Fort Carson. All this money. Look at the 22 million collected, 5 million spent on food in Fort Carson.
Wow.
Where the hell's the money going? How are you against this? I didn't even know there was a part 2 to that. Sorry, I said it. How?
Guys, the fraud is so rampant, guys. Look at this. This is nuts. People over 100 receiving Social Security benefits. What we know, this came from the DOGE team, guys. Literally came today. Look at the time, guys. 1:25 p.m. Eastern time. This is breaking news. And check this out. Not only that, Elon Musk came out and said Musk called the 20 million people receiving Social Security past the age of 100 the biggest fraud in history. And they go on to say in this article, it's not even American citizens. It's people from other countries. Can you believe this? I know you can believe it. That's why we're $36 trillion in debt. Thank you so much, Mr. Norby, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, this corruption being found has been here for too many years. The Democrats been saying for 30 years they will reduce the waste. Never happens, though. But now Trump does what he states, and he's the bad guy. Drain the swamp. This has to end 100%. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. Guys, this is common sense. 20 million people receiving Social Security past the age of 100. This is such fraud, such a slap into the face to so many people that are barely making it on Social Security. Guys, it bothers me. It really bothers me because I feel like, hey, if we're going to help anybody out, we should help out our seniors, right? Those that have already paid into the system. Listen to this.
So why is Eisen important, and why is he coming to the forefront today, kind of trending as being one of the leaders of the resistance to the days of thunder, ma'am?
Norm Eisen's reason for existence, his raison d'etre, is protecting democracy. And what you just watched from that MSNBC clip that aired about a week ago, and then that Jen Psaki clip came from last night, shows you just what exactly democracy means to Norm Eisen, which is a purely partisan, politically weaponized term that they use to describe the preferred regimes of the American ruling class. Call it the deep state, call it the permanent political class, call it whatever you want. And Norm Eisen's entire career, through his writings, through his sort of appointments at these DC-based think tanks, through his advocacy, through groups like the States United Democracy Defenders, they have all been about preserving the status quo of quote-unquote democracy. And the best example of this is the fact that Norm Eisen was intimately involved with the first impeachment of President Donald J. Trump. He had actually drafted, I believe, nearly a dozen impeachment articles before President Trump was even sworn in. He then basically advised, provided legal counsel to the Mark Zaids of the world, who essentially then impeached President Trump. So for that man to sit up there and say that he cares so much about democracy, while in the same breath talking about how they can peacefully remove the democratically elected president, Donald J. Trump, and they can't even use the Electoral College lost dunk on him because he won it so overwhelmingly, shows you that is a clarifying moment for who Norm Eisen is. And frankly, I would also look no further than what his group, the States United Democracy Defenders, and their sort of C4 action group, which is the one that is actively suing DOGE as we speak, along with a bunch of other President Trump sort of linked initiatives, and policies, but it was this very same group that essentially did, and we'll use MSNBC jargon, a hostile takeover of the Arizona AG office, that's Chris Mays, and weaponized their office to bring the indictments against President Trump, against his supporters, essentially
Wow.
lawfare, go after the Jeff Clarks of the world, and again, provide them essentially rock copy verbatim with the lawsuits, with the indictments that they then hurled against MAGA. But if you want to take a step back, because then you get to the global ramifications of this, and that's where you sort of invoke then the color revolution critique of who Norm Eisen is, which that is his bread and butter, right? You have to link what is going on at USAID, what they have done throughout Eastern European countries, particularly when it comes to Ukraine, where 9 out of 10 media outlets are funded by USAID. Yes, 9 out of 10, 90%. Imagine that, right? That's not War Room. That's Ukrainian foreign ministers admitting to that. But if you read their democracy playbook, which was essentially their blueprint that they've now put out 3 iterations of, the third one, which they then cross-supplied, translated everything that they learned from interfering in regimes abroad, where they admit they're now doing it here in the United States, which was published coincidentally on January 17th, 2025. Well, in this sort of playbook, several hundred pages, USAID is mentioned several dozen times, including but not limited to admitting that they were planning to bankroll resistance to the democratic backsliding that was going to occur under President Trump through USAID. And the media example that they give is an entity called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, which was responsible for essentially the dossier that led to the first impeachment of President Trump. So you can see this whole concept of depicting President Trump, Elon Musk, everything that they're doing as autocratic, as anti-democratic, as democratic backsliding. It then basically allows them to have a much broader and wider tool belt where they can oppose, sabotage, and obstruct, right, the Trump administration, but it also gets them out of their ideological sort of bend, where how do they even oppose a democratically elected president as the staunch defenders of democracy that they purport to be?
Natalie Winters, Color Revolution. This is so important. Don't pay attention. 2/3 of the stuff you see on TV is nonsense. MSNBC, CNN. It's not the heart of the thing. The heart of the thing is a very sophisticated political operators that have been inside the administrative and deep state for many, many decades. They run the deal, okay? They are not prepared to give this up. They've spread their madness throughout the world. That's what we're choking off. And Norm Eisen is one of the biggest practitioners of this. Once again, Natalie, I just want to leave the audience before we go to another an aspect of this, which is the funding of it, and that's USAID. To tell me about the color revolution in Norm Eisen.
Yeah, no, what we're talking about, I mean, is the equivalent of like a nuclear bomb to the Constitution, to this country, to elections, certainly to the Trump agenda. And, you know, you always talk about the idea of they're not going to hand us over the keys. They're not going to say, congrats, here's a pat on the back, you won the election. Here you go. I think the concept of a color revolution, to sort of extend that metaphor, is the idea that those set of keys shouldn't even exist because the system is so foolproof, is so, you know, under lock and key that you can't even change it, right? That sort of is what the impeachment represented symbolically, the first impeachment, right? You can't deviate from what they call the Washington consensus. And if you look at the sort of 3 pillars of what undergirds the theory of color revolution, which Norm Eisen and his sort of mentor were the seminal authors of the text that really created the playbook. Number 1 was sort of mass demonstrations and mass street protests, which we're certainly seeing right now. But just pay attention how anytime that there is a protest, Rachel Maddow, the MSNBC crowd, they really, really, really amplify them and really, really hype it up because they want to create this idea, right? Even though it's actually not that many people, but they want to create the idea, the sort of astroturfed idea that there's such staunch opposition.
Hang on. To your point, it's amazing that from Nicole Wallace all the way through the evening, they'll have the multi-screen. They'll talk about, this is what's happening in Denver today. This is what's happening in Orlando. And they'll have the entire screen, which each of the different protests. And there's probably not 500 people at any one, but when the screen's full, it reinforces to them that they're taken to the streets to take this back. It's information warfare perfected, ma'am.
Guys,
Yeah, I mean,
let me tell you this. They are fighting tooth and nail because of this right here. Doge discovers 4.7 trillion in treasury payments were missing critical code. Traceability almost impossible. This is why they're fighting, guys. They know that they've been caught, and now they're just trying to cover it up. Stephen Morgan, thank you so much for the super chat. Yippee, let's go. Y'all show Stephen some love in the chat. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, we really appreciate your support so much. This is what I love about Elon Musk. This is what I love about Doge, guys. So they asked him, and they said, look, we want to have transparency. He's not providing the receipts. He's just coming out and saying stuff. So this is the doge.gov actual website. They post everything that they're doing on this website, guys. Well, guess what they added last night? They added a savings tab. And here, look, top 10 agencies total contract savings. Top 10 agencies contract savings as a percentage of budget. And look, the wall of receipts. Every single thing that they are cutting, they're adding, and you can see where it was. Annual subscription to Politico. Savings, $60,000 saving. You can even view on PDS. This was the actual receipt. How amazing is this, guys? This is the stuff you will not see on mainstream media, but it is the truth that Doge is providing full transparency of everything that it is doing to the American people, guys. This is beautiful. And they're going to keep adding to this and adding to this and adding to this every single day. Virginia Friday, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. So we have a problem in the chat, Joel. All right, I'll check it out. Y'all show Virginia some love in the chat, guys. And what's crazy is the Democrats, we know they're losing it. We know they're panicking. They're trying to say certain things. It's not working. But you know what I love is how it's coming full circle. Check this out.
Democrat donors are having some serious regrets about giving Kamala $2 billion just to have it all disappear in a landslide. Some donors are now writing Trump's name on their checks. Others are closing their wallets completely or threatening to send cash again unless the party gets a major overhaul. With a cash drought, liberal activist groups are self-doging, laying off 20% of their staff. One Democrat advisor is moving to Canada. He says the coup was a big mistake, called it Biden-side. The golden age is giving them high anxiety. Quote, Democrats are lost politically, culturally, spiritually. Many Democrats privately fret that the current president is executive producing a massive shift in the zeitgeist. Trump's popularity, at least during his first 3 weeks in office, has never been higher. When Democrats get nervous, they sing. Trump is not a king, never turning back, never turning back. Stop the fascists now. The grassroots resistance, not what it used to be. Between songs and some guy dragging a Trump doll with a noose around its neck. Crickets from the media. But that's okay. Trump doesn't need them.
Donald Trump's favorability rating is actually higher than it ever was the first time around. 63% favor federal government's recognition of only two sexes. 60% favor deporting immigrants who entered the United States illegally. 60% favor expanding oil and gas production. 59% favor declaring an emergency at the southern border. Is there anything you are seeing that Trump is doing that you are in favor of?
Let me say, as it relates to all of those issues, we're just at the beginning. The price of eggs is skyrocketing out of control. Inflation is on the way up. That was the core promise that's been broken.
They're still stuck on the egg hoax. No one's buying it. Democrats need some new material. For top Democrats in and out of elected office, every day is an existential tug of war between worrying about sounding like shrill paranoiacs and worrying that they are not saying or doing nearly enough. They don't know what the next 3.5 years are supposed to be when they already hit constitutional crisis in the first 3.5 weeks. Here's an idea.
The headline here is presidential historian says President's Day is ridiculous. We should scrap it. What do you mean?
It is a little bit silly. I mean, we have had some real duds, so I'm not sure we really want to be celebrating all presidents. I think if we think of a president as someone to celebrate just because they exist, which is what the king was, and that's why they celebrated the king's birthday, then you it does evolve into that argument that they can do no wrong.
They're arguing to take away a day off? Democrats don't want federal workers to go back to work, but they want you to pick up an extra shift. Primetime is a pro-holiday show, even if we have to work. We just like to see you happy. Democrats, on the other hand.
This is the thing about the Democratic Party. They loathe their base. It was clear to me all the way back in 2016 with the way Hillary Clinton and all her cronies talked about Democratic voters, and it's even clearer to me now. They feel entitled to their positions of power. They do not see themselves as public servants. They see you, the Democratic voters, as their public servants.
Zachary Levi is an actor, and he's in the new movie, The Unbreakable Boy. Why, Zachary, are the Democrats so anxious?
I don't know. I mean, listen, the election did not go their way. That can bring a lot of anxiety. I think that, personally, I think that there's been so much propagandizing and so much brainwashing and so many lies that have been spread that I have a lot of empathy for people who feel anxious right now, for people that are afraid because they've been told to be afraid for a long time. And I don't blame the voting Democrats for that.
Wow, that's a good point.
The legacy media. By the way, I think sometimes even you guys here have said things that have stirred that pot.
Only Gutfeld. Oh, I've been shot straight.
And I think it's high time that everyone here at Fox News and everywhere else in the legacy media, I think we've got to try to recognize that people are very impressionable, are looking for truth, are looking for good leadership, and we got to love each other there. And so when, the other side, almost all the other networks, not you guys, but we're saying the things that we're building Trump to be, new Hitler and all that stuff, I think that's very detrimental. I think that, politics used to be more about let me tell you why my person's better. And now it's so much more about, let me tell you why the other one's worse. And that negative attack, that negative approach this is why we're at where we're at. And it's sad. It's very sad to me.
When you see people singing 1960s style, when you see Kamala Harris on Broadway, inspiring people, as you know she's capable of, what does that tell you about the trajectory that everybody's on?
I don't know. They're trying to find answers, man. Listen, for people sitting where we're sitting, I was very supportive of Bobby Kennedy. That led me to Donald Trump. And I am so grateful.
That's big.
I am so grateful that the election went the way that it did. And specifically because people like Bobby and Tulsi Gabbard are now in there and confirmed and can do the work. And listen, DOGE is complicated, right? There are a lot of people that are very afraid right now because there are truly good working people that work for the government that are getting lost in the cracks. And we have got to do something about that. Please, Elon and all of your team and whatever needs to happen, please don't let everybody fall through the cracks as we are doing what is necessary, which is to get in there and cut a cancer out, man. Sometimes they go in.
Guys, let me tell you that is the hardest thing. And that is a great point. What do you do when I 100% agree? There's probably really good people that are working for USAID, but guess what? When you're dealing with something that's so corrupt, that spent trillions of dollars of taxpayer money on fraud and waste, the best thing, and this is what Trump and them have done, we give you 8 months severance, we give you benefits. You're taken care of for the next 8 months, and you have 8 months to go find a job. And like I said, if you can't find a job in 8 months, you got a problem. Tarina Smith, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Said, thank you, Joel, for your diligence. And thank you so much, What's New, for the super chat. Said, I'm glad Trump keeps them guessing. It keeps them scared enough to watch out. Let's go. Y'all show What's New and Tarina some love in the chat. Guys, I love whenever you get hardcore capitalist just smacking around people, liberals, things like that, even on these CNN networks. And I love what Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank has to say, guys, because again, too, it all boils down to common sense. And if you don't mind, guys, thank you so much for your support. clicking the thumbs up like button, guys. Let's get to 2,000 likes on stream, guys. We can do it. Thank you so much for your support. Check this out.
I think the issue is they're not whacking enough. There's this concept in private equity when you get a bankrupt company and you go in there, you cut 20% more than your initial read. And then you find like a pool of mercury, the organization gels back together again. Always cut deeper, harder when there's fat and waste. The FAA, it's not the people. The code is cobalt. It's from the 60s. It needs CapEx put into it for the technology to be upgraded to make it safer. Fat like a chicken. All of these agencies are like big fat chickens dripping over barbecues of fat. This is the best barbecue I've ever seen, but I don't think it's happening fast enough. They're not cutting enough. Keep slashing, keep hacking while you have a 24-month mandate before the midterms. Cut, 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 cut. More cutting. Believe me, it's going to work out just great. Everybody should be happy.
Even people with the nuclear codes, cut them too?
Cut everything. Because if you don't see what they're doing and they can't show you that they're adding value, you whack.
But it's not clear that they're even asking people to show us what you're doing. Again, this was a story Friday, and literally Elon said, oops, we gotta rehire them because nobody knows how to do what these people know how to do.
Yeah, the nuclear thing. Okay, it gets it wrong once in a while. Big deal. So what?
I agree with that.
That's 10% of the time.
It's okay. I actually think it's okay if they run into a stumble here or there because the project is so massive.
Yep.
The need to cut is so massive. The government is so massive. It's inconceivable that you wouldn't make a mistake here or there. But I think that's acceptable if the greater goal is achieved, which is a smaller government, more efficient government.
Even if someone,
trim the fat.
even if someone dies, or even if someone, because
Are
we're
you
talking
alleging
about
that someone has died from this?
we don't know. I'm talking about when the rubber meets the road. I'm talking about, for example, Kansas City. 30,000 government employees might be laid off. It will destroy the economy of Kansas City. That's okay.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm reading what the individuals from Kansas City have been saying, that they're very concerned.
What do you think they're going to say when they're going to get whacked?
Of course they're going to say that, but my point is, do we think that's smart to live in an American city just go under?
How many American cities need a massively oversized federal government to stay afloat? I mean, isn't that said more about the city than the government?
But when did we get to the point where presidents are measuring themselves by how many people they put out of work instead of how many people they get jobs
Not a moment too soon.
Yeah,
this
is crazy. This is
because the government only ever gets
big
bigger,
fat chickens, hopefully they lay some eggs and maybe.
Oh, guys, I love it. Let me tell you this, guys. If there is anything that I love is whenever you catch it and then you just clean it up. You have people that are fighting for the corruption. They are fighting to keep people and just give people jobs. We are not a socialistic society. And what I love is they're throwing lawsuits at them. They've got every media outlet on the left-wing media trying to fight against them. But guess what? Trump has a mandate. Clean up government. Limit the size. We are in project downsizing government. Check this out.
Alina Habba. I had to pull this up today because I thought, wait, what about that guy? Do you remember Chris Littlejohn? This is the guy, he worked at the IRS, and he was the one who ended up going to jail because he released Trump's tax returns. And the left didn't seem to mind that at all. And I just look at all of this and I think there's just a ton of lawsuits that you guys are dealing with. We can scroll through them here for everybody to see. Alina, how do you guys keep track of this?
White House counsel's office is doing an amazing job coordinating with the DOJ and Pam's team. But, you know, keeping up with something like this is something we expected, we're used to. And frankly, we should thank them for training us for the last 4 years in dealing with their lawfare. We are winning on them. But you brought up Littlejohn. I'm so glad you did, Dana. People seem to forget that. And I remember I was at the court in D.C. when he was getting his sentencing. And I made a statement about that and about how unfair and ridiculous it is to target people based on their politics. And Littlejohn was somebody who worked at the IRS, targeted President Trump's tax returns at the Trump organization. and then released them. There was a series of other billionaires and wealthy individuals that he went after as well. But that was outlandish and it was barely covered. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. Look, we are doing exactly what America mandated on November 5th, cleaning up waste, fraud, and protecting you, the American people, and our money, because we pay a lot of taxes and we need that money to be spent wisely. So the fact that we're being stopped by people who are Elon Musk, Donald Trump, billionaires who know how to run businesses is insane to me. I would love for them to come in and help me make billions of dollars or save billions of dollars. And that is what they are doing for next to nothing for the American people.
This is one of the main headlines that came out yesterday afternoon. It was on the DOGE X feed. It was on their website. I don't know where it goes, but here's how it reads. Treasury access symbol, TAS, is an identification code linking a Treasury payment to a budget line item, standard financial process. In the federal government, the task field was optional for $4.7 trillion in payments. Was often left blank, making traceability almost impossible. As of Saturday, this is now a required field, increasing insight into where money is actually going, thanks to U.S. Treasury for the great work. Before we get to the Democratic pushback, just address that. Are we to believe that $4.7 trillion was just going out the door without a name on it, or do you think we'll probably, in all likelihood, in time, have an answer as to who was the recipient?
The blessing in following the money is it usually, it's something prosecutors do frequently. There's a tracking, so we should be able to see where that money goes in time. But in the immediate, what he has done is told everybody, look, you have a bookkeeping system for America, the Treasury Department, that has that amount of money, trillions of dollars, with no name, no identifier, that could just be spent. Now, do we believe there is fraud? Absolutely. You're looking at somehow some of these bureaucrats from D.C. that have never left, but then make hundreds of thousands of dollars and are somehow worth tens of millions of dollars, close to 100 million in certain circumstances. Do we believe that there's a chance that they could be funneling these to NGOs with interest? Yes, we know that happens. And it's a problem. It's a real problem, Bill. So putting this in is a critical accountability measure that we're doing so that under this administration, when money is earmarked by the Treasury, you will know exactly where it goes.
Let's go.
I'm going to play this for you. These are several Democrats who are saying that they've got the answer to push back on DOGE. Watch.
The president is not allowed to say, yeah, I don't like that. I'm going to spend this money, but not that money.
We're going to continue to work together in an all-hands-on-deck effort to push back against the far-right extremism that is being unleashed on this country with record velocity.
We're winning in court. More than a dozen federal injunctions and temporary restraining orders have been issued.
Last hour, Jonathan Turley said that he does believe that President Trump will continue to win these lawsuits. So at that point, what do you think the Democrats might pivot to in order to try to have some sort of opposition?
Yeah, well, first, let me just address the TRO. A TRO is a temporary restraining order that's put in place when the judges take a look at the actual facts. It is temporary. That is what they are referring to as winning. They're not winning because once these go up, the judges have reversed them or have seen that there is real fraud and that we're not doing anything wrong. What do I think? I don't know, Dana, because they were singing songs last week. I mean, that was something I never thought I'd see. Chuck Schumer's holding a beer and trying to get American people upset over the Super Bowl because we're saving them money. You can't put anything below them, frankly, in terms of how low they will go. It's so desperate. But I just want to keep reiterating something. Everything we are doing is what was mandated, number one. Number two, it's to save us money, to spend money correctly. And they're going as extreme as to blame a plane flipping in Toronto on the Trump administration. We don't control, the FAA does not control Canada's air traffic. And zero air traffic controllers in America were even fired, let alone critical safety personnel. But they will do anything. It's a spin. It's liberal media. It's radical liberal media. It's a problem, and we have to hold them accountable to it.
Lena Hoppe, thanks for coming on. More to come on.
Guys, let me tell you this. I love accountability at the highest level. I love our boy Byron Donalds, who's coming out and says DOGE just found that standard financial process was optional and not required for the nearly 4.7 trillion. Oh, let me make this bigger, guys. I apologize. Let me get you taken care of. Right there. The 4.7 trillion U.S. Treasury payments, making traceability of these payments almost impossible. The gravy train is over. Accountability is here. The swamp is being drained. I love it, guys. Well, guess what? that more keeps coming, guys. This morning, check this out. Right here, top federal agency exposed for spending billions on migrants in a single year. The number skyrocketed up to $10 billion during the Biden administration. Guys, if this isn't fraud, if this isn't abuse of federal funds, treasonous acts, that somebody needs to be held accountable. I hope the DOJ goes after these people, after the Biden administration for all this. But the Biden administration spent tens of billions of dollars to grants to migrants and refugees through one of its government agencies, including $10 billion in just 1 year. The watchdog group opened the book, looked at the grants, nonprofits awarded by the Department of Health and Human Services, and they found, guys, look at this. In 2022, $3.4 billion, and then in 2023, $10 billion, and then it was reduced to $4.2 billion in 2024. They knew what they were doing. They knew that they were fraudulent, bringing in voters, trying to bring in illegal migrants, guys. And I hate it because so many people have suffered through this. The Biden administration is 100% accountable for it. And they did it right in front of our faces. And I just hope the Department of Justice holds them accountable. Listen to this.
Joining us with more, White House Press Secretary, the one and only Caroline Leavitt. I got these clips today, and I looked at...
Guys, and if you don't mind, guys, we're so close. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, let's hit 2,000 likes on stream, guys. We can do it. Thank you so much for your support.
And I said, oh, wow, they wanted to be Donald Trump, but they weren't able to pull it off. What's your reaction?
That's exactly right, Sean. If you just watched that video, but shut your eyes and listened to the words from those Democrat politicians, you would think you are listening to President Trump, Elon Musk, and our entire administration, who are saying the exact same things that Democrat politicians promised the American people they would do for decades. President Trump is just the first president in our lifetimes to actually do it. And now you see the Democrat Party and the mainstream media spiraling out of control about a very simple promise, rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse from our federal bureaucracy. This is a promise President Trump campaigned on. He is now delivering on it.
Yes.
And I've been fighting fake news reporters all day long here in the Washington, D.C. swamp, who are trying to fearmonger the American people into believing that this administration is going after their hard-earned tax dollars and their hard-earned Social Security checks. So I want to set the record straight on your show tonight, Sean, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do so. President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the DOGE team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. They haven't dug into the books yet, but they suspect that there are tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments. And so their goal in going into the Social Security Administration is to identify three things. Number one, to identify duplicate payments and to end them. Number two, to identify payments that are going to deceased people who are no longer living and should no longer be receiving that money. And number three, to protect the integrity of this system for hardworking Americans who have been paying into it their entire lives. So rest assured to all of the people watching your show tonight, if you paid into the system, honestly, you will continue to receive your Social Security checks. Do not buy into the lies from the legacy fake news media who are trying to fear you and scare you into believing otherwise. This is what we've seen them do about President Trump for years with every promise that he has made. And he's going in there to protect your hard-earned money. That is the ultimate goal.
Okay, now they have apparently found 8.7 million Americans who are listed. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't know if they're being paid, but they're listed and they're on the Social Security roll. Their names are there that are over 130 years old. 8.7 million Americans listed, and as Elon said, far more eligible Social Security numbers than there are actual citizens in the U.S. But we don't know yet if checks are being sent to either individuals that are dead or maybe family members that are receiving them. We just know their names are still on the list, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. There are a lot of unanswered questions, but that's exactly why these Social Security employees, I may add, are digging into the books and going line by line, because past administrations have refused to do this very time-consuming but necessary work. And I want to emphasize that these are Social Security political appointees. With every change of a new administration, you have new political appointees, just like me and my colleagues at the White House, who onboard to serve the elected president. That's called a democracy, and for far too long we've had a bureaucracy that has been running these agencies. And look at what has resulted in: tens of billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse every single year that we know of. And so these DOGE employees, these Social Security employees, are onboarding as Social Security Administration employees, political appointees, and they have every right to administer President Trump's agenda, and that's their main focus with this effort. Not just at Social Security, but of course at every agency, as you know.
I don't want to give away the interview tomorrow with President Trump and Elon, but I can give a few headlines. There's no conflict between them. There's no power struggle. There's no ambiguity as to who the president is. And what I observe both in front of the camera and behind the camera are people that had a great relationship. I don't want to give too much away. People will decide for themselves. You were there for a lot of it. You agree?
I definitely agree. And I witnessed this relationship firsthand every single day in the Oval Office and at the White House. And President Trump has tasked Elon Musk with administering his America First agenda, just like the rest of us who serve at the pleasure of the president, but most importantly, serve the American people. More than 77 million Americans re-elected President Trump to promote monumental, fundamental change, to shake up the Washington swamp. And there's nobody better than Elon Musk to do that. He is a once-in-a-generation business leader. He sent rocket ships to space. He's far smarter than many of the people who are grunting and moaning on Capitol Hill about these efforts are. And he's the perfect person to help President Trump with this effort. The mainstream media wants to drive a wedge between their relationship, but they are failing. And our entire team is unified behind President Trump to deliver on the promises he made to the American people on the campaign trail.
All right,
guys, let me tell you this. I mean, you have people that are coming out of the woodworks making jokes about this because it's so hilarious. Rob Schneider, who is, a comedian, said DOGE is canceling Social Security payments to the most vulnerable people over 150 years old. Heartless. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. Our systems are so broken. We have no accountability. Nobody wants to own it, but everybody says that we shouldn't do anything about it. That's what the Democrats are saying. They're saying, oh, well, you're just messing things up. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. It was so bad that the Social Security Administration Commissioner, Michelle King, has resigned following the DOGE audit. Why? Because they probably found some stuff. They probably told her, because I've seen this before, you either resign or we will fire you. But if you resign, then you're essentially leaving on your terms. Those are your choices. This stuff is so bad, guys. The corruption is so bad. But again, too, this is what Trump promised that he would do. And Elon said it too, all throughout the campaign trail, especially whenever he was in Pennsylvania. What did he keep saying? We have to cut government. We have to limit the size. And guys, more and more is coming about this $4.7 trillion of unaccounted for money. Listen to this.
On government efficiency, DOGE, Eric Burleson. Congressman, good morning to you. So what's your reaction to that? People with Social Security numbers that are way older than you've ever heard be able to live in this country. So what do you think?
It tells us how poor this system is and how inefficient the federal bureaucracy has become. It also lets us in on how structurally we have created an environment that is ripe for fraud. And so while I'm not certain, and we'll need to investigate all of these individuals, the millions of people that are over a certain reasonable age, and determine if they truly are individuals and if it truly is a fraud incident. while we still need to do that investigation, it's clear that there are not systems in place that are obvious checks on things like this.
So there's also this. Fox News has learned that the DOGE audit on the IRS is imminent, despite backlash from Democrats. Of course, a ruling on the effort to block Musk's DOGE from accessing data and being able to fire employees is expected today. So what do you think is going to happen there?
I think at the end of the day, the American people, I think, trust the fact that we have an individual, one of the smartest individuals on the planet, who's not in this for his own self-interest. He's really sacrificing his time and his treasure to help save this country because it's in his best interest. No one has more to lose than Elon Musk. And so, and I think that the fact that he is lending his talent, his expertise, and all the geniuses that come with him, we should embrace that. And I know that as someone elected official, I welcome, it's like the cavalry coming in, having someone like Elon Musk come in and point out all of the fraud and all the waste that we've been trying to point out for years.
Okay, well, we see the sign in the background. You are at the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship Conference in London, alongside leaders around the world. For those who are just learning about this conference, tell us about it as it enters day 2.
Yeah, this is a wonderful conference. It's mostly organized by conservatives from Western society, from Great Britain, the United States, Canada, Israel, etc. And it is, we're looking back and reflecting on what we've been through. This woke, censorship culture, this economic growth culture against climate, this Green New Deal culture, and the lost time that we've had during all this period, and then we're at an inflection point. We're looking forward to what is this freeing moment really that Trump is bringing in, and the opportunity to look towards the future and a reconstruction of all of Western civilization.
Yeah, usually these global conferences don't include conservative leaders, but this one certainly does to balance things out a bit.
Guys, I'm telling you, the things are changing. What I'm about to show you next, guys, I'm telling you, when this came across my feed, I said, you got to be kidding me. This is from one of the big names out there. Michael Knowles showed this. We're getting behind the scenes info, guys, over what has been happening with the corruption of USAID, people that have actually been getting the millions of dollars and what they're actually doing. And it literally will make your blood boil, guys. I want to say thank you so much, guys. We got almost 1,800 people watching. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. Check this out.
This is Rory Stewart explaining his connection to USAID.
Stopped. Doesn't matter. You have a contract. So, Turquoise Mountain, which my wife Shoshana runs, has a contract. Had another $1 million to go. Money just stops.
Oh, hold on. Wait, there's a contract between some organization and USAID, and the contract stopped. And hold on, his wife ran that organization, and they were supposed to get another $1 million from the U.S. government, and that just stopped? What organization does his wife run? It's called the Turquoise Mountain Foundation. You can't make this up. The Turquoise Mountain Foundation exists to teach Afghani peasants about degenerate modern art.
So this is in some ways often called the first piece of conceptual art. Does anyone know what it is? I don't expect the ladies to know. Exactly. An artist called Marcel Duchamp, who's very important in Western art, put this toilet in an art gallery about 100 years ago.
That's where your money's going. Your money is going, or was going until Trump got hold of it, to pay off the wives of British politicians turned Yale professors to teach Afghanis who probably have more important things on their mind about how perverse Western anti-artists decided to pretend that urinals and toilets were, Caravaggio paintings in the early 20th century.
Guys, millions of dollars, guys, is that lady got a contract from USAID. Thank you so much, Mr. Norby, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, for new subscribers for the channel, True Life News, love this family. Let's drain the dang swamps. 100%. We're going to get those memberships out, guys. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. Guys, we always got to show some love to our boy from Louisiana, Mr. Kennedy, who I'm telling you guys, I think he's the most layman's terms funniest senator out there. But again, it makes your blood boil that we gave millions of taxpayer dollars to a British person who became a Yale professor to teach Afghanis about Western art. Like, you can't make this stuff up, how dumb it is that we're experiencing this. Check this out.
Louisiana Senator John Kennedy. You know what this makes me want to do? I have friends that own Teslas. And if they're going to have a boycott and try to harm Elon Musk for exposing waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption, you know what? I think my next car, I'm going to really look into a Tesla. I think that's going to be my next car.
Well, with respect to Ms. Crow, I'd make a couple of points, Sean. Number one, Ms. Crow's entitled to her opinion. Number two, I think she means well. But if she ever had a clever thought, it died alone and afraid. I think point three, I think that it should not go unnoticed that President Biden got a lot of his advice from pop singers and movie stars and people who partied with Harvey Weinstein, and we know how that turned out. In terms of the Democrats, I've got a lot of friends who are Democrats, and they haven't asked me for advice, but if I did, I'd tell them, look, you just got to try harder not to suck. I mean, think about it. Over the past 4 years, the Democrats mismanaged Congress, they mismanaged COVID, they mismanaged the economy, they mismanaged inflation, they mismanaged the national debt, they mismanaged Afghanistan. More recently, in their opposition to President Trump and Mr. Musk, the Democrats have chosen to support the bureaucrats and the spending porn over the American taxpayer. Just like they support illegal immigration over the rule of law, just like they support transgender athletes over women's sports, just like they support Hamas terrorists over Israel. All Democrats are not like this, but the party is controlled right now by people who majored in online activism with a minor in puberty blockers. I know these people. They think men can breastfeed. They're triggered by race. They cry if you use the wrong pronoun. And most fair-minded Americans look at this and they go, these people are about 10 exits past normal. And that's what's killing the Democrats right now, in my opinion.
You know, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt this. Keep going.
No, I'm done.
Okay, spending porn, and they got to try harder not to suck. And I can't keep up. You know, one question people ask me about you, they like, is this extemporaneous from Senator Kennedy, or does he actually think this out ahead of time? Does this just flow naturally for you?
About 5 minutes before an interview, my staff knows to leave me alone. And if I know the topic, I start thinking about, I've got maybe 4 minutes, and I start thinking about how I'm going to frame it. Sometimes I say things that I shouldn't, but as I've told you before, God made me, and God gave me the right to remain silent, but not the ability.
Well, I appreciate it, but you know, it is interesting what you're saying, because what have they doubled down on? They doubled down on waste, fraud, and abuse and corruption, which will end up being hundreds of billions, if not more. They doubled down on men and women's sports and doubled down putting the rights of illegal immigrants, including known terrorists, murderers, rapists, cartel members, gang members, over the safety of Americans. That's kind of dumb.
Well, it is, and frankly, it's bad for our country. I mean, it's good for, I'm a Republican, it's good for my party. What I tell my colleagues is just, look, we just need to stay calm. We need to stay calm as a Hindu cow and just go about our work and get our bills passed and let the Democrats be the Democrats. And so far, it's working. You never interfere with your opponent when he's kicking his own ass. So that's what's going on.
Guys, I'm telling you what. We have had some comedy. I saw this. Guys, I've got to show you this. This was hilarious. Guys, from this show, I want to say thank you so much for all your support, guys. Watch this. This is just a short clip, but I just thought this was the funniest thing from the Gutfield show last night. Check it out.
The U.S. versus Canada hockey game started off with 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. I was glad to see our hockey players stand up for America, but still, you shouldn't hit women.
And we won that hockey game, guys. I want to say thank you so much for your support, guys. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, it really does help out so much. Appreciate you all, guys. Appreciate you partnering with us as we continue to grow True Life News and continue to put out the truth, guys. We want to show you the truth. We want to bring the receipts. We want to bring the facts, guys, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Our country is going through an overhaul right now, and I'm so happy about it. I'm so happy to see an America First agenda. I'm so happy to see all the fraud, waste, and abuse being exposed, and I love it. I want to give some shout out to our members. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join, and also some love to those giving some super chats, guys. Remember, memberships and super chats, we donate to charity, guys. We are going to be donating less than a couple of days, and we give some. We take this money and we give it to charities to put some good in this world. Want to give some love to Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Stephen Morgan, Virginia Friday, Tarina Smith. What's new? Guys, y'all show them some love in the chat. We got so much to look forward to. Y'all, we have the best chat on YouTube. Just always want to say, guys, keep it clean. No personal attacks. Give your opinions on all the stuff that's happening, but no personal attacks to me or to anybody in the chat. Let's keep it clean. Guys, I love you all. Appreciate you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.